Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and it's time to talk about The Flash. So this episode came right after a really great episode last week. Last week's episode was phenomenal. We had nothing to complain about. Everything was great. Zoom was awesome. Everything was good. So this episode had a lot to live up to. And it did a pretty good job. It obviously wasn't as good as the Zoom episode because Grodd's not going to be as cool as Zoom, at least the way they're portraying them. But this was a pretty cool episode. The first thing we were worried about, or at least that I was worried about, was that Barry was paralyzed at the end of the last episode. So I thought they might use that to kind of be like a crutch for the storytelling for a little while to keep him kind of battling this issue rather than villains and things. But they didn't do that. He was basically fine at the start of this episode, which was a really good thing. It shows that the writing and the storytelling is really where we need it to be to keep the show going. I think they're doing a really good job with that. In addition to that, they're doing a really good job handling the new Wells character. Cavanaugh's doing a really good job portraying this new personality as the same character, so that's really good too. And that's also kind of in line with basically every other cast member. The entire show is acted properly. Every character just feels like they belong in that universe. For instance, on Arrow, we don't necessarily get that, or at least I don't. The connection's not quite there for some of the characters. It feels a little off. The Flash doesn't feel like that at all. Every character feels exactly the way they're supposed to, and I think that helps. So they did use the whole back-breaking thing to develop Barry's character a little bit. They bring in his dad. It's kind of like just a motivational episode for Barry to get him to help him develop his hero characteristics. And it worked really well. I think having the dad come in was a good call. They have a really good rapport, so that helps a lot. And just everything went smoothly, I think, for this episode. There weren't really any hiccups. I guess you could complain about the CGI. But it was pretty darn good, especially considering this is just an hour-long TV show every week, or 40 minutes. They have some really good special effects. Grodd looks great. I mean, it could be better if this was a full-length feature film worth $20 million, but it's not. It's an hour-long TV series for the CW, and they did a really good job with Grodd. Also, I really like the way they're handling Grodd, the way they have the voice acting being basically all the mental speaking. He's actually not vocalizing, so that's really cool. And just having the character the way they have him, it's going really well. Unfortunately, at least at the end of this episode, it looks like for now Grodd's going to be out of the picture, which I think is okay because it's going to be hard for them to use that character a whole lot going forward. But it was a pretty well handled situation. I think they did a good job of getting rid of Grodd without killing him because he's not really at fault, and that whole thing. I don't want to spoil every little bit of the episode so you guys can still enjoy it if you haven't seen it yet, but they handled it really well. The fight part with Grodd was good. The development was good. The whole thing felt right. Basically like everything else. We don't actually get any Zoom in this episode. We just talk about him a little bit. So, personally, I don't mind that. I don't think we need him in every episode. That's going to take away part of that kind of mystery, that appeal that he had when he first started showing up. So I think that's a good thing. They talked about it and they're developing that overarching story, but they didn't go right into it. So this was one of those episodes where you don't deal with the main overall story, but you have the episodic type of story, which is good. And then they just kind of touch on the arcing, I don't know. They touch on that story, and that's a good thing too. So everything's really good. They're developing Cisco a little bit more, which he's doing a really good job in that role. I love that character. So funny. But the thing this week with Cisco was basically the whole Hawkgirl introduction. So they're introducing Hawkgirl for the Heroes of Tomorrow show, which I'm assuming is still on. I haven't heard anything about that. So I hope that's good. I have some serious reservations about Hawkgirl and Hawkman. That could go horribly wrong. So I'm curious about that. We'll see how it goes. It could be good. It's not bad so far, so that's okay. And Barry and his new girlfriend is also a good storyline. They're making it interesting. They're not oversaturating the show with this romance. They're just enough to keep everybody interested and entertained. And like I said, everything's going really well. The one thing I thought was a little weird in this episode was when Wells puts on the Reverse Flash suit because they're going to try to trick Grodd using the suit. And as soon as Barry sees him, he runs over and attacks him. Why would he do that? You could say he's in kind of a weird mental state because of the whole thing with Zoom last week, but Barry's a smart person and he knows that the original Wells is gone. So the fact that he attacked this Wells and he didn't let up right away either, that was a little bit heavy-handed. I think they could have handled that a little bit better, but that's just a very minor 5-second thing, so no big deal there. It was a really good episode. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. Let me know what you thought. I think this show just keeps getting better and better. They're handling it just the way they need to. I'm really psyched to see where it's going moving forward, especially with this team up with the Arrow again, so that'll be cool. Or Green Arrow now, officially. So just everything's really good about it. I'm psyched. Hope you guys are psyched too. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Look forward to reading those comments and talking about this episode. And then make sure you tune in next week so we can talk about next week's episode, which I guess isn't happening because it's Thanksgiving. So whichever episode comes next. It might be the Arrow one, might not. Whatever comes next, make sure you tune in for that. We'll talk about that there. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.